What is up, y'all? So we are back with another episode of Brutally Simple Cooking. This is for my peeps, my clients, my members, because I love you so very much. You know the deal. Good fudge is hard to come by and even harder to make on your own. Most fudge recipes out there are kind of complicated. So whether you've tried my homemade SHT Fudge and loved it, or if you're just looking for a simple yet amazing fudge recipe, I got you covered because I'm sharing with you today my homemade, brutally simple SHT Fudge. Now let's review what brutally simple cooking means. It means starting with real food first. Now when it comes to fudge, it's not necessarily real food, but it's really good ingredients. A simple list of ingredients and simple processes. And pro tip, make sure that you have mise en place. Everything in its place, everything laid out, so that you're not running to the grocery store last minute because you forgot something. So let's check it out and see what we need for this amazing fudge recipe. We got the stars of the show here. We need 2 bags of chocolate chips. And what I got here is a bag of Lily's 0 sugar chocolate chips, just the regular dark chocolate. And then we also have a bag of some high cocoa, relatively lower sugar, dark chocolate. You could make this with 2 bags of Lily's, which would be almost no sugar. But I like some true sweet in my desserts. I also want to minimize my sugar intake, so I like to do a combo of both. All right, then you're going to want to use a nut butter of your choice. We're using sun butter here today. You could also use cashew butter or almond butter or macadamia nut butter. The reason we like sun butter is because it tastes like peanuts. Most people do not do well on peanuts. Peanuts are one of the top 5 allergens in the US. Sun butter has a nice little peanut butter taste, but not too strong. We're also going to want a cup of butter, 2 sticks of butter, one of the regular packs of Kerrygold butter. For thickening agents, we're going to use some collagen. So I'm going to use some of my flavored hydrolyzed collagen. You could use either the vanilla or the chocolate. Then I'm also going to use a non-flavored collagen. For spices and seasonings, we're going to use some unrefined salt, pure vanilla extract. And then to spice things up towards the end, we're going to use maybe some pumpkin spice. You could do a little bit of chili powder or some cayenne pepper. Now for equipment, you're gonna want a saucepan that's big enough to hold all these ingredients. I got a 2-quart saucepan here. You're gonna want a hand mixer or hand blender, a baking dish, and parchment paper big enough to fit inside the baking dish. So we're gonna take our saucepan and turn on the heat to as low as possible, and then we're gonna add the butter and start melting the butter. Now, pro tip, if you add a lid, it's gonna warm up a little bit faster. Now that the butter is mostly melted, we're going to go ahead and add in the sun butter. Now once we have the sun butter in there, we can just kind of give it a nice little stir. Now the reason I like to put the butter and the sun butter in first, pro tip, is because just in case it gets a little too hot at the bottom of this saucepan, we don't want it to burn the chocolate. All right, then we're going to go ahead and add the Lily's and our other chocolate. And at this point, you can go ahead and give this about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt and about a teaspoon or so of some vanilla. And then we're going to add the lid and let this melt before we add the collagen. Periodically, you're going to want to come and stir and just see where the chocolate chips are at, because you want these majority melted before you start blending, and it looks like we're almost there. And then once it looks majority melted, you can go ahead and start blending it at a low speed. Now, to finish this thing off, we're going to go ahead and add a scoop of our flavored collagen and then about 4 tablespoons of this other collagen. Blend that up one more time. Now we're going to take our baking dish, place the parchment paper over it, and then we're going to pour the fudge right into the center so that the weight of the fudge starts to push down the parchment paper. Now you want to try to get as much of that fudge out of here as you can, but the good thing is you can let your partner or your kids lick this up. All right, now you just want to try to get the fudge to fill this whole thing here. I like my fudge relatively flat and thin so that it cuts easy. So we're just letting the weight of it kind of push this thing down. All right, now we always like to, pro tip, we always like to add just a little bit of salt to the top of it. Just give it just a little bit of a dusting. And then you're free to add whatever the heck you want. We like to put just a little bit of this pumpkin spice, just a really, really light dusting, very subtle flavor. If you want a little bit of heat, you can use some cayenne pepper, or we're doing just a little bit of some chili powder here. And then again, we can just settle it, try to get that seasoning to kind of sink into it. Now then we want this thing to cool before cutting. Pro tip, use the fridge to cool the fudge before cutting, because otherwise it's too hard to cut through and it will brittle and break apart. All right, so we pulled this out of the fridge and it looks amazing. So now I'm gonna bust it out of the parchment paper and cut it up. Now, pro tip, this is why we do the fridge cooling, so it's easy to cut. Here we go, ultimate taste test from the ultimate taste tester. This is how you treat your friends and family and loved ones with the aftermath of the SHT Fudge. And there you have it, folks. Brutally simple SHT Fudge. You're welcome.